Guys, welcome back to Resilient Man channel. So, marriage. Do you think marriage is worth it these days? And is marriage starting to die? And what I mean by that is there seems to be a lot of men, especially younger men, who are deciding they don't want to take the risk and they don't want the hassle because of what's involved, um, entering into that legal contract and the things that go along with it, how they can be hurt. And so it begs the question, why would you get married these days with the laws as biased as they are against men? And what do you actually gain by making her your wife these days? I don't really think there's much to it, quite frankly. And unfortunately, I would say it's due in large part to the modern woman and she has done this to our society in concert with the so-called family courts and the laws that are on the books that are just so corrupt and so biased towards men. I mean, marriage, quite frankly, is like an IPO for a woman, and divorce is her cashing out with all the cash and prizes. And if there were children produced during the marriage, that's a passive income that the woman gets until the kids are 18 or sometimes even beyond that. And that's sanctioned and enforced by the state. And God forbid if you don't meet those obligations, because you could really be in a shitload of trouble and or jail in some cases when it comes to child support. So that's what I wanted to get into today. This episode of Resilient Man. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Comment down below your thoughts, your advice, and specifically to some of the things that I want to discuss today. Some of the guys that are in these situations, and that maybe you can offer some encouragement and such, because I think a lot of men, myself included, this was how it was in my case. I had that mindset, that old-fashioned mindset, that traditional mindset of, yeah, you find a good girl and you get married and you're going to build a life together and that type of thing. And then the culture and society has changed so much that the woman can break the marital contract anytime she pleases. And the man is, pretty much up shit's creek financially. And we're not even talking about the emotional and mental strength. So all these things beg the question, why would you get married these days? And is marriage a dying concept at least with men? Because you have to, what are the benefits? Other than, well, I think a lot, maybe young guys would think, oh man, I got sex, I got a woman in my bed every night. And, we all know how that works out, that, the sex dries up in most cases. And then, the sweet, if she started out as a sweet, feminine, sexy woman, that usually changes as well, especially after kids come. So there's those things that you have to deal with as well. A lot of us guys complained about, for me, I'm divorced, but if you're still married, you complained about a sexless marriage. Sex was few and far between, or, the woman that when you were dating, she was hot and heavy and all that stuff. And things were great, and then you got married, and if not soon, then slowly over years, the sex got less and less and less. To in many cases, there's a lot of guys that I know and have met over the years that their wife has no interest in them, and these aren't bad looking guys. They haven't, let themselves go. In many cases, the wives have let themselves go because they just don't care. They're complacent, and they just don't want to put in the work, and they see sex as a chore. And so, which leads me to the neglectful part. I mean, many men, I'm sure some of you guys watching this right now, and comment if you're one of these guys, and like and subscribe to Resilient Man if you like this content. Many of you guys can relate to the neglect that comes in a marriage, and a lot of times you are regulated to what you bring to the household financially, and what you get for that in return is neglect and criticism and condemnation and complaining from a woman who doesn't appreciate what you bring to the marriage. So, and I'm not, I've said in my content before, this channel, Resilient Man channel, is not about hating women. I don't hate women. There are wonderful women out there that are good women. There are good wives out there who some men are fortunate enough to have, who love their husbands, and they really work hard at their marriages. But unfortunately, a lot of women don't. A lot of women see it as because of their narcissism and entitlement, and they all, in our social media driven society, think they're queens and they are to be served. And that wears on you as a man, because you've entered into this marriage, this contract, this emotional contract, and she has just decided she's just gonna coast and do her own thing. And so if you're a guy that's in that situation, comment down below, and how do you cope with that, and how do you deal with that situation? I know for me, it drove me crazy because, most of us guys are pretty simple, and we want sex, we want food. And if you meet those two things, we're pretty happy guys, most of the time. And when your woman is not even willing to meet that, because obviously she doesn't have any respect, or don't care. So that's a tough thing. And I would say to the guys out there who are in these type of marriages, and you feel trapped, you feel frustrated, you're angry, sad, you're trying to navigate it, you do contemplate divorce, you do think about these things, but then, the very next thought is, the fear of facing divorce, and how if there's children involved, you're going to lose your children. I mean, that's a probability. 90% plus of the time, you're going to be not in the home anymore, and you'll see your kids, once a week and every other weekend or something. So that's a probability. And then there's the probability of being hurt financially through child support and other things for years to come. Again, she can leave the marital contract anytime she wants. She's not going to be penalized for it. Actually, she's going to leave with cash and prizes. So if you're staying in a dead marriage, like many of us have, I did for years, and I was miserable. And for the reasons that I just mentioned, or maybe you're staying out of fear and laziness. I mean, I'll share a quick story. I had a friend years ago. We went out, we had breakfast, and I guess he needed to talk because he just unloaded on me about his life and his wife. And I just sat there and listened. And he went on about how he's been married for over 20 years. His wife doesn't give a shit about him. There's no sex. There's no nothing. She doesn't care where he comes and goes. They literally were roommates. I mean, living separate lives in the same house. And he went on. He has stayed in this marriage all the time. And as a key point here, there was no children, so there wasn't that piece of it. So he could have left, but he was deciding to stay in a dead marriage and be miserable. And he went on telling me about this, about how I'm unhappy. She doesn't love me, and there's nothing there, and blah blah blah. And so as we talked, I said, so what if you divorce? I mean, what happens? How would that play out? And I think a lot of you guys need to think about this. How would it play out? Because a lot of times in our minds, it plays out a lot worse than it actually does. And so, yeah, you're going to go through some challenges and such. And yeah, you might even get hit financially in the short term, but in the long term, you're going to recoup, you're going to move on, you're going to be much happier, and you're going to find some peace and some joy and some happiness and maybe some good quality companionship with another woman. And so he went on to tell me about it. Well, I've looked into it, and if we were to divorce and we split everything and sold the house and all that stuff, I would probably come away with about 200 grand. And I said, okay, so what's the problem? That's a nice chunk of change to move on and start fresh, and you can go get yourself a nice town home or something and start fresh, man. Start to craft the life that you want, to create the life that you want, which is our responsibility as individuals. And hey, maybe you would, in the future, you would meet a nice woman and, for companionship as a girlfriend or something. And, wouldn't that be nice? And he said, yeah, man, but I just can't do it. I just can't do it. I can't start over again. I can't go through that. And and this was the really sad point. And for you guys watching out there, I hope this is not you. And if it is you, I hope you rethink this. But he said, I've just accepted my lot in life. I've accepted that I will just stay with my wife and in this loveless, sexless marriage, and I will just coast until I die. And look, I listened to all this. I had asked him questions, but it wasn't my place to say, oh man, you're dumb, that's stupid, blah, blah, blah. He's a grown-ass man. This guy was in his late 50s. And if you think about that, I mean, he was in his late 50s, and people are living well into their 80s now, or even 90s. So he could have divorced and possibly had another 30 years of life to craft and create the life that he wanted to have and have some happiness and maybe find some good companionship. But fear and laziness prevented him from doing it, and it was just truly sad. And so I just kind of, okay, man, well, if that's what you have decided to do, then that's what you've decided to do. Now, personally, if he ever brought it up again, I would say, listen, save it. This is what you have chosen. Don't bitch and complain. Don't whine. This is what you have chosen. And, I hope you're not that guy out there watching this. If you have been in that situation, guys, and you have decided and you did get out, you did file for divorce, you moved on, comment down below. Comment to encourage the guys who are in that situation but are a little fearful, maybe a little lazy, and that there is a better life. You don't have to stay in a miserable marriage and have it drain you until you die. It's just not worth it. It's no way to live your life. You deserve much better. And so those are some of my thoughts on marriage today, and just was thinking about those questions. Is marriage dying? The the desire that for is men's desire to marry dying because of the culture and society and the corrupt and biased laws? What do you actually gain by marrying her? I mean, that's a relevant question. And I hope also you guys who are watching this, especially you young men who would like to get married and would like to have a family and those things. These are real questions to consider, because the risk and the probability of divorce and losing your kids and being financially hit by the courts is real. And so you need to ask yourself your question: why would I get married? What is the point of making her my wife and being legally bound? And I will end this episode with this. You know, I've been married and I'm divorced, and the peace that I have and the happiness that I have cannot compare. The freedom that I have. I come and go. I do whatever the hell I please. I date, and do my thing with that. But personally, I will never be legally bound to a woman ever again, ever. And I mean, personally, I would never even live with a woman. She will have her space. I will have my space. And any woman who is not willing to agree to those parameters, I'm just not the guy for you. And I know some of you guys might think that's extreme, but if you think about it, in today's society, with the challenges that we have, it really enables you to have your happiness and pursue the things you want to do, and eliminates a lot of the risk and the perils that come with the marriage contract. So anyways, guys, that's what I've got for you today. Please, if you are in this situation or have been in this situation, comment down below. Share with other guys. Share some encouragement. Share some advice on how to cope and how to navigate through these things as men, to help our brothers out there. So I'll leave you with that today. Thanks for stopping by, Resilient Man. Like and subscribe to the channel, and know your worth. Protect your peace.